The day Marie and Rosalind arrived on a visit from Tacoma was the day Marie ran off. It had taken 3 days of driving to get to San Antonio, and Marie had cried the whole way. I felt like crying and taking off too. My mother had died a few months before. I was 53 years old and felt like an orphan. I was an orphan. Every day I woke up and felt like a glove left behind at the bus station. I didn't know I would feel this way. Nobody told me. I'd been hiding in my house since. Most days I didn't even comb my hair. Most days I didn't care. The thought of talking to people made me feel woozy. And now Rosalind was here, and Marie was gone, and I was the only person Rosalind knew in all of Texas. I put on my shoes and grabbed my house keys. I followed Roz up and down the streets of my neighborhood and along both banks of the San Antonio River. We asked the neighbors. We put up flyers. Have you seen Marie? Reward, recompensa, lost cat, gata perdida, black and blanca, white y negra. She looks like she's wearing a tuxedo. Have you seen Marie? The Reverend Giovanna, who lives in the corner house across the street, said he hadn't seen any new cats around. But he did add as he drove off, I'll put it on my request list to God. Have you seen Marie? Dave, the cowboy next door, came home for lunch, his truck backfiring like the 4th of July, same as always. We can do a river search on horseback, he said. Oh, but my kid is coming over this weekend. Can you wait till next week? Have you seen Marie? My neighbor Carolina came out of her front gate with her Yorkie yapping at her feet. Oh, my, she said. My heart would break if I lost my Coco. She knew about heartbreak, all right. Her brother and mother had both died within a year and left her all alone. Have you seen Marie? Across the street, under the shade of a giant pecan tree, the widow Helen sat on the sidewalk doing business with weeds. I can't see much of anything till my cataracts are removed, she said. Would you like a big red soda? Have you seen Marie? In the blue house that faces mine, Roger and Bill stopped their garden work long enough to read the flyer and shake their heads. Bill had lost his oldest boy a few Thanksgiving ago, and Roger's sister was in the hospital again with cancer. We haven't seen nothing, they said. But I knew they had seen a lot. Down the block where Steeren meets Gunther, a father trimmed a lantana bush, his 2 girls hanging upside down from the porch like possums. Have you seen Marie? The bigger girl snatched the flyer from her daddy's hands before he even had a chance to read it. How much is the reward? She asked upside down. $100, I said, making up the amount on the spot. $100? A boy sailing past on a bicycle tumbled into the lantana, bike and all. The smaller girl leapt off the porch rail and took the flyer over to her cat. Muffin, have you seen Marie? Muffin sniffed the flyer, but did not or would not say. We walked past the wedding cake mansions on King William Street and over to the O. Henry footbridge, the iron walkway bouncing and pinging beneath our shoes. Midway, we stopped to watch the sky and clouds floating in the water. A jogger mom trotted by, pushing a baby in a runner's buggy. Have you seen? Our voices echoed off stone and metal. She was out of sight before we could even finish. In a hackberry tree shading the Acapulco ice house, a squirrel flicked her tail like a housewife shaking a dirty dust rag. Have you seen Marie? The squirrel stared at us suspiciously as if we'd steal her secret stash of pecans. Okay, well, let us know if you hear of anything. We walked down alleys, gravel crunching underfoot. We talked in between fence slats to folks getting ready to barbecue. The scent of mesquite and fajitas reminding us we hadn't had lunch yet. Over on Adams Street, we interrupted the family Ozuna's Sunday get-together. ¿Qué? Grandma Ozuna said. They're looking for a cat, Yaya. A hat? No, Yaya, un gato. A cat. A cat! A cat! They shouted into her ear. Cake? No, I don't want any cake. Poor Grandma Ozuna. She lost more than a cat, pobrecita. Marie! Marie! We shouted into the muddy crawl space under houses in the damp chink between garage doors, under peeling plaster and boards loose as rotten teeth. We sent our voices in places too dangerous to go ourselves, beyond fenced driveways, into dark crannies sticky with cobwebs between the floor planks of porches, the mouth of scary hallways. But nothing, and no one answered. On Cedar, 6 bossy Pekingese dogs and 1 rat terrier with sad, watery eyes threw their bodies against the chain-link fence in a fury. Have you seen Marie? But they just barked above our voices, except for the rat terrier who said nothing, too ashamed to disagree with his friends. At a freshly painted house in South St. Mary's, an old man in painter's whites pumped my hand and smiled at my teeth. I lost my wife a while back. Pardon me for asking, but are you married? A teenager working at the I Do car wash said he hadn't seen our Marie, but asked if we could be on the lookout, please, for a white cat named Luna. We promised to let him know if we ran into his cat. Roz and I wedged flyers on doorknobs, tucked them inside the curly cues of gates, clamped them beneath the mouse trap of windshield wipers, stapled them on telephone poles and fences. We stopped a bearded man in his wheelchair collecting empty cans from the recycling bins of houses on Mission Street. He took our flyer and said, "Man, I'm sorry about your cat. I lost my own cat once and cried like a baby." You only had to look at his faded blue eyes to see that this was probably true. The neighbor, Luli, walked by with her pets following behind her in a single file like a parade. A cat, a chihuahua, and a dog as fat as a brown bear. Luli has witnessed too much grief for one lifetime and has a teardrop etched near her left eye to prove it. But no, she hadn't seen Marie. Isn't it a shame to lose the one you love? Luli asked. Yes, it is, I agreed. And when I said it, my heart felt as if someone squeezed it. The day grew hot. The top of our heads felt soft as tar. On San Arturo Street, a grandmother watering her thirsty roses told us no, she hadn't seen Marie. Would you mind watering us, please? We pointed to our heads. She did, laughing as she sent a lazy jump rope of water towards us. At a lacy Victorian house on Barrera Street, we stopped to chat with a woman pretty as a mermaid. She was swinging on a porch, knitting something purple. I thought about my mother and how she used to knit ugly scarves no one wanted to wear. Now I wish I had one of those ugly scarves. My nose started to tingle. Under the shadow of the Hemisphere Tower, at a wooden house off Refugio in Matagorda, a nice couple dining on their porch invited us to look into their bamboo. There was a family of wildcats living there, but the cats wouldn't answer when we asked about Marie, except for a fat gray one with eyes like hubcaps who curled its tail into a question mark. We left with paper plates of brisket, beans, potato salad, and cups of iced tea. Outside the doors of the Torres Taco Haven, we caught up with John the mailman, who knows everything about everything in the neighborhood. John let his mail bag slide off his shoulder, adjusted his cap, and announced Nope. Can't say I've seen any black and white cat. Oh, but I know a lady over on Beauregard whose cat just had kittens. Have you seen Marie? Aunt, the artist, lives next door to the gas station. We found her planting paperweights in front of her yard in memory of her mother. We didn't say much to each other, but that said everything. Marie! Marie! We called up to trees, we crawled on our hands and knees and peered under parked cars. We walked behind houses and into scratchy, deserted gardens. But there was no Marie to be found. At a tiny house on Claudia Street with a Virgen de Guadalupe niche on the front yard, silver women in their silver years laughed like bells. I felt better for a little while. May la Virgen look over you, honey, bunnies, and your kitty cat too. Marie, Marie, we shouted, but inside my heart wheezed, Mama, Mama. The sky let out a sigh and soured into a bruise. Wind whirled the flyers we had left in dry, hot circles, and big, sad drops of rain began as if to say, despair, despair. Oh, Marie, Rosalind said out loud, I miss you. I said nothing but swallowed. A woman named Beverly called out to us from the corner house on Crofton, the one with the 5 palm trees. Hey! I think I found you, Marie! Hallelujah and amen. Bless the Reverend Giovanna, Rosalind said. But when we went to look, it was a big male cat with a white face and black body. Who knew there were so many tuxedo cats in the neighborhood? Aw, sweetie, Beverly said, I'm so sorry, and hugged Rosalind. I felt like asking for a hug too. The evening smelled of skunk and jasmine. Rosalind let out a "Have mercy!" We walked and said nothing, our long shadows dawdling behind us as if they were tired. A house like a black eye, haunted with rusty vines, a pickup truck sagging beneath refrigerators. The door opened a crack, and a voice behind a raggedy screen said, "Can't help!" slamming the door before we even could say what we came for. On Wick Street, my friend Craig came out in his plaid boxers, his pale chest sprouting white hairs, the blue light of the news in the living room, the smell of fried pork chops. "I'm having my supper, sweetheart. I'll come and help you later." But later came and went, and he forgot. We consulted with the wise neighbor lady, Blanca, on Barbie Street. "Well, I haven't seen a cat, but I did dream just this morning of a black iron fence. Does that mean anything to you?" We shrugged and said thank you. Clouds darkened in a hurry, swept past, wind chimes rang, the trees shook their wild loose hair. Rosalind and I agreed to split up and meet in an hour before it grew too dark to see. Rosalind went upriver toward the Pioneer Flour Mill. I went downriver toward the Big Tex Granary and the old Lone Star Brewery. The sun was already behind the freeway. Grackles gathering in the trees called out, "Marie, Marie, Marie." I asked the river, "Have you seen Marie?" River said, "Mamita, you name it, I've seen it." "Do you mean you've seen her?" "I've seen everything, corazón de melón. Everything, everything, everything," River continued. "But I don't understand what you mean." There was something in my throat. I felt like I'd swallowed a spoon. I put my face under the water and cried. River said, "Don't you cry, mamas. I will take your tears and carry them to the Texas coast where they'll mix with the salty tears of the Gulf of Mexico, where they will swirl with the waters of the Caribbean, with the wide sea called Sargasso, the water roads of the Atlantic, with the whirls and eddies around the Cape of Good Hope, around that hat called Patagonia, the blue waters of the Black Sea, and the pearl-filled waters around the island of Japan, the coral currents of Java, the rivers of the several continents, the Aegean of Homer's legend, the mighty Amazon and the wise Nile, the grandmother and grandfather rivers, Tigris and Euphrates, the great Mother River, the sandy Yangtze, the dancing Danube, and through the straits of the Dardanelles, along the muddy Mekong and the sleepy Ganges. Water warm as soup, and waters cold to the teeth. Waters carrying away whole villages, waters washing away the dead, and waters bringing new life, the salty and the sweet, mixing with everything. I raised my face from the water and shivered. Along the river, there are skunks, raccoons, and possums, snakes, and turtles, cormorants, cranes, butterflies, fire ants, and snails. There are hawks in the sky and beetles in the earth, but no Marie. Timid stars came out one by one and stared at me. Over at the bend where the river snakes into an S, there is a muddy puddle. A little underground spring bubbles beneath, feeding into the river. I sat on the giant roots of an ancient Texas cypress, wider than 13 people holding hands, grander than all the fancy mansions in the neighborhood, wiser than any ancient casita with its lopsided tin roof, prettier than any house in San Antonio. A tree so old it had been there since before Texas was Texas. Since before Tejas was Tejas. Since before Mia and my mother. Since before. And when the swirling inside me grew still, I heard the voices inside my heart. I'm afraid. I'm all alone. I have never lived on this earth without you. Then I really felt sorry for myself and began to shake like branches in rain. Mother! Mama! Here I am, the wind said, and brushed my hair. Here I am, mija, the tree said, and shushed me. Here I am, mija, said the clouds grazing past. And when the night fell, the moon rose and blanketed me with her rebozo of stars. Here I am. I've been here all along, mijita. Here, said the little stars, laughing. Here I am. The light filled my bones. After 3 days, when her heart was smooth as river stone, Marie came out from under the house where she'd been hiding and said, here I am.
When I started writing as a young person, I read your book, and it gave me permission to feel that I could write in my own voice and not try to emulate another person's voice. I could write in my own experience. When you began writing, what or who influenced you the most?
When I began writing, who gave me permission to write in my own voice?
Yes.
Wow, well, any young writer starts with your own voice, and then you start imitating everybody you love, and you have to imitate them to grow, and then you have to get your own style. There's lots of writers that influenced me, but I think the biggest thing that influenced me was going to graduate school and realizing that no one in the room had a house like mine. When I discovered that I was like nobody in that room, the first feeling was shame, and I wanted to quit and leave graduate school and write my fiction and poetry on Saturdays when I wasn't teaching high school. But I think it's important that we take these negative emotions like anger or shame or depression, and that we compost them into something positive. And it's important that we don't use them to shoot ourselves in the foot, So I could have quit and I would have been shooting myself in the foot. But what I did is I got angry and I said, how come I've never seen my house in a film or a story or a magazine portrayed accurately? It's always distorted. It's never portrayed the way I know it. It's never portrayed with love. So I decided to write that book. And that's how House was born. So I was inspired from something negative that fortunately I sat with long enough to make into something positive. I didn't quit after all. I decided to write that book and to finish my degree.
Thank you for writing that book.
Well, thank you. I tried when I wrote it to make it so that people who aren't used to seeing themselves in books would read it and say, hey, that's me. Or I could use beautiful language, but in a way that didn't make people feel bad. I don't want people to feel bad when they read a book. That's like, some books like to show off and make you feel bad. Why would you do that? I don't understand. I think books should be for everybody, and they should make you feel at home and welcome. They shouldn't talk down. They're very complicated stories, but I wrote them in a way that I hope would be poetic and would serve everyone. And I don't know if something's going to take a weekend or my life. I never know. Each piece, some things are published and never happy, and some things come out in one weekend. But I do a lot of rewriting. When I'm not speaking is when I do my best writing. When I'm at home, not wearing my author clothes. When I'm wearing my huipiles with descalza. And at home, I do my best work when I don't talk. And a good writing day is like 1 o'clock till about 8. That's a good writing day for me. And I usually write in one day like a page and a quarter of prose if I'm in the zone, or a draft when I'm in just a draft. So work on one, and then you put the lid on that one, let it simmer, you go to something else, and I've got lots of kettles on the stove at the same time, and then sometimes you leave a kettle alone too long and it just evaporates. Having recently escaped from the maws of the deathly life, but not that life sentence called death, I'm ready to begin the year anew. For the new year, I will buy myself a chocolate eclair with custard. Eat it slowly with an infinity of joy, without concern of woe and tight underwear. Susan's mother was directed by her doctor to cut down on salami or risk death. But doctor, she said, is life worth living without salami? For my new year, I will sit down in the sun and dunk in my coffee a little knob of bread hard as my elbow, and on it, without concern for cholesterol, I will spread delicious butter, the kind that reminds me of Mexico City's Café La Blanca on Cinco de Mayo Street, or the clinking glasses of La Gran Café de la Parroquia in Veracruz. I will snooze with my dogs till I radiate love, for they are life's true gurus. I will wake gently so as not to disturb the dreams that have alighted overnight on the branches of sleep. And before they flutter away on soundless wings, I will examine and admire each. This season of my escape, I will push my foot down on the accelerator of my life. Vámonos, Bobiscum! And hurry to sit under a tree with a book thicker than a dozen homemade tamales. Henceforth, I will read only for pleasure or transmogrification. All toxic folks are to be excised from the remaining days of my life. The chupacabras and chupacabronas who are purgatory of pain. I will allow myself the luxury to laugh daily and in liberal doses to overbalance the bitter compost called the news. I will cease waiting for someone to do something about the war, the walls, the guns, the drugs, the stupidity of leaders, and ally myself with citizens who practice the art of tossing their shoes at heads of state. There is much I know and much I do not know as a woman at 56, but I am certain I know this. Life is not worth living without salami.